Mirror time during morning time. What does this mean? What does it mean to do mirror work? I'm so excited, literally so excited to be able to share this with you, to tell my story of how mirror work in my morning time, it revolutionized how I see myself as far as a pretty long dominant history of body image issues where when I was little, it was so weird. And still, every once in a while, every once in a great while at this point, I get glimpses of this feeling where I look in the mirror and I feel like no connection to the person that I see in the mirror. I that's not me. That doesn't even look like me. Like the version of me that I have in my head, the version of me that I see in my mind's eye when I conjure my image of myself, that's not that. That's the what in the mirror, that's wrong. That doesn't look like me. And it was so confusing and disorienting. Like, why do I feel that way? I still don't know necessarily why I felt that way. But as I grew up, it was like the version in the mirror changed, and I just, it is what it is. And the version inside my head took on a lot of feedback from other people who, in their divine playing of their part in my human experience, called me ugly. And I had so many actors hired to tell me I was ugly. Like, I'm obviously joking and referring to like the human game. These were people in my life that I met. A lot of them were my classmates in seventh grade. But yeah, this picture of myself that I have in my head was more about what other people told me I was than what I actually was. And so looking in the mirror a lot, it sounds so vain. It sounds like the opposite of like a spiritual practice, right? Like I thought we were supposed to disconnect from our physical selves. I thought we were supposed to go deeper than just what's on the surface. And for me, in my healing journey, and not everybody is going to benefit from using mirror work. Not everybody has this to heal. But for me, that disconnection with my physical self, my physical vessel, was a pretty big block in my overall energy that, as it turns out, healing that and learning through practice that I am beautiful. And it's not because of what's on the surface at all. It's like when I started doing mirror work, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit, but like when I started gazing at myself in the mirror on a regular basis or talking to myself in the mirror on a regular basis, for the first time in my entire life, I saw myself laugh. I saw myself smile, like light up from the inside, like laugh, like light up so powerfully that it makes you make sound because of how fast you light up. That's all laughing is. It's just a really drastic raising in your vibration. And it feels really good. It like literally tickles our vibration and we laugh. And I had never seen myself laugh before. I laugh all the time, but like normally I'm looking at other people laughing, right? While I'm laughing. So when I saw myself laugh, when I saw myself truly smile from the inside out, I saw a light in my eyes that I had never seen before. I saw basically what I would call source energy shining through me in that moment. And I fell in love. I fell in love with that beautiful light. I fell in love with whatever part of me it is that allows that light to come through. And the rest of me softened like in an instant. I mean, it took years. I still do mirror work. Again, gonna get into it here in a little bit, but like the change that I saw was, yes, coming to see myself as beautiful, but more than that, it was like falling in love with myself. Like, but up until that point, I really didn't like myself. I really didn't care for my personality all that well, although I had been about a year in studying Myers-Briggs was the tool I was using at the time to kind of like make peace with who I was on a personality level, like all my quote unquote flaws. Like when you look at it through Myers-Briggs, it's like all right there in the strengths. Those are your strengths. The fact that you're wired like that, like, so I was already starting to kind of transform, like maybe my personality isn't so bad. Maybe it isn't an affront to humanity like I once thought it was. And with that opening to seeing myself as maybe an okay person, that let me, well, first it let me hit rock bottom, and that let me find Abraham Hicks. And she says in one of her rampages somewhere, something about looking at yourself and seeing source shining back at you through your eyes. And at the time, I had no idea what the hell she's talking about, but through mirror work, I saw it. I literally got to see my own divine light in my eyes. I I saw that it's real. I saw that it is present inside of me. There is light inside of me. I know that for sure. I saw it in the moment that it happened. And while, I don't feel like that all the time, or there's not, this magical light shining out from behind my eyes all the time, like a lot of the time. And when I anchor into my mirror work, it reminds me how present it really is. And so now I want to spend a little bit of time, and I'm going to use some pictures of my previous morning time spaces and my right now morning time space, which also has a mirror in it. So, like when I very first started doing mirror time, it was because of that rock bottom moment. I went to a new therapist, new to me at the time, and I sat in her office and was telling her my story for like just a few minutes before she gets up and goes and fetches this paper and comes back and brings it to me. It's called the deservability treatment. I'll link that in the description box in case you want to check it out. And her recommendation was to read it out loud, not in your head, not silently. Silently in your head and saying it out loud are two completely different things. It's not even close to the same thing in terms of like what your brain has to go through to do each one. When we think something in our head, that's our imagination. When we say something out loud, that's us actually like verbalizing and expressing and manifesting that energy into being. So saying it out loud is a powerful component of mirror work, as in like talk to yourself out loud. Don't just look at yourself in your head and think thoughts. Like it's not the same. It's really not. And so look at yourself in the mirror, read the deservability treatment out loud, and make eye contact with yourself as much as possible. Again, all extremely important components of how this works. Because again, if you're not looking in your eyes, you're going to miss the moment when the light comes through. So you do have to look at yourself, and you do have to say it out loud in order to like really get this result in full effect. And so I took that deservability treatment home. I read it once out loud in her office, and I bawled like a baby through the whole entire thing. And I took it home and I read it out loud to myself in the mirror, and it was more crying. It was more pain. It hurt. It hurt to say these things because I do not believe that they're true. I'm a piece of shit, and this is making it sound like I'm not, and that's not true. And I'm crying because that hurts to, like, basically to question what I believe. Like, even though I believed I was a piece of shit, at least I believed it. At least that was my known reality. It was my comfort zone. Like, I was comfortable there. It was normal. And this other way of thinking about myself, that I deserve all good things, I don't think so. Really? No, no, can't be. I've been treating myself like a piece of shit for 3 decades. What do you mean I deserve all good things? That can't be right. So like it was like a cognitive dissonance was like the confusion of that crying those first few times I read it. And then I remember it was probably like during week 2, somewhere, like maybe about 10 days in, and I had been reading the deservability treatment to myself out loud in the mirror, looking at myself maybe 2 or 3 times a day, um, like before work, after work kind of thing, and had been doing that for 10 days straight. And that first time, I had it pretty well memorized by that point, and so I was saying a sentence like full on to myself in the mirror, and it felt so good to tell myself that I deserved whatever it was part that I was on, that I smiled. It was in that moment. It felt so good to be telling myself that it felt so good. God, it felt so good to be giving myself that reassurance that I made myself smile, a genuine smile, and I saw the light in my eyes. And I was like, whoa, Houston, we have liftoff. This is doing something. This is like working. This is changing how I think about myself. And in that moment, I went and got my full length mirror, which had been leaning up in my closet, and took it and put it where I had been doing my journaling and my morning time and my stretching. I went and put it, and that's the picture that I'm going to show on the screen here. And I left that mirror there. I would still read the deservability treatment to myself in the mirror, but after that I also just started like looking at myself and like wondering like, when am I going to see that light again? When am I going to, like, can you do that again? Like, was that real? Did that really happen? And like, and then as I'm journaling, I feel so good with like whatever gratitude or whatever highlight of yesterday I'm writing about or whatever. And again, I would smile. And as I'm smiling or laughing, even, I would look at myself in the mirror and there's that light again. There it is. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to see. Who cares what the top surface looks like? That's not the point. The animation from inside, the strength of your happiness. And it doesn't have to be there all the time, but in the moment when it comes to the surface and that's what's playing out all over your face, you're gonna want to see it. And so spending consistent amounts of time in front of the mirror, it's not about studying what you physically look like. In fact, like so like here, I'm going to show you my current setup. And I do sit in front of this mirror and I journal. And so mostly I'm journaling and I'm listening to whatever uplifting content I'm listening to for that morning. And again, in the moments when I feel really good, I glimpse at myself in the mirror and I see that light and I just take it in, the light of my beloved. It's so beautiful. And then also because, this is several years in and I do have a lot of momentum going in my journaling, where sometimes the energy of what I'm milking in my journaling, it'll get going so fast that it just becomes easier to say it out loud. And I'll say it out loud to myself in the mirror. Or if a certain person comes into my consciousness and I feel like, I want to have this conversation with them, I'll just start talking to myself, looking at myself in the mirror and talking out loud. Again, not in my head. It's a completely different thing to imagine a conversation versus to actually speak it aloud into existence. But there is so much witnessing of my own divinity that happens through my mirror work that is such an integral, integral. Pause for a moment, processing. I do believe it's integral part of my morning time. This having a mirror present, it's almost like quality time with myself. It's like reminding myself, because I tend to have like a lot of air energy, so a lot of getting all up in my head and losing touch with the earth realm because I'm just floating in thoughts and ideas and anxiety basically. um and so to like pull myself back down to the earth realm and take a deep breath and blink my eyes and be with myself, be present with myself. And the other time that this has all been really like the the upside and the beauty, I would say, like the like witnessing your own divine beauty that's possible through mirror work. The other time that I do go sit in front of a mirror is if I am inconsolably crying, because again, I'm present with myself. I am usually holding or hugging myself, and then probably rocking myself along with that, trying to talk to myself in the mirror and tell myself to breathe and tell myself I'm here with you and you're okay. We're going to get through this. Let it come out. You know, like this is a wave and it'll pass. Emotions are temporary, and I'm just with myself. And again, like it just helps to know that, we're never alone. We always have ourselves. And so it feels kind of like the mirror is kind of facilitating a more loving inner parent towards my inner child. And that to me is, it's like a beautiful upside to vanity. Like if you can fall in love with the person in the mirror, you're literally changing the world, starting with yourself.